Good evening. I'm Tim Connolly with a look at SCA Sports. In football last night at Anaheim Stadium, Jim Everett played 30 minutes, completing 16 of 24 passes for 168 yards and a 17-7 halftime lead. In the second half, the second stringers played, with Denver outscoring the Rams 33-14. Final score, Broncos 40, Rams 31. Coach John Robinson is pleased with what he saw, though. Robinson says, "We're better now than we were last year at this time when we were 2-0. The Rams are 0-2 this summer." Turning to tennis action, it was a wet day at Wimbledon. Stefan Edberg in the near court, serving. Here we go early in the match. It's Edberg serving, moving to the net, off the net. Becker quickly with the turn, but Edberg finishing it with authority. Becker, a two-time champ, serving in the near court. This is a great point. Both men are all over the court. Becker with the forehand, the return by Edberg. Another forehand. Edberg one better once again. Still the first set. Edberg in the far court, receiving. He didn't look nervous in his first Wimbledon final, but in this point, Becker hit the backhand for the winner. Edberg leading 3-2 in the first when the rains returned. They played a total of 22 minutes. Second time in history Wimbledon has been rained out. Play will resume tomorrow. Becker serving. In the boxing world, Thomas Hearns will go for his 5th title, and Sugar Ray Leonard won't sit still. He has agreed to fight Donnie Lalonde. No date has been set for this fight, though. Over to the majors. Do you think the Dodgers might be a shade overconfident? When Franklin Stubbs got to former Dodger Rick Sutcliffe for his 3rd inning RBI single, it was 1-0 Los Angeles. Half an inning later, though, the slate was clean again. Andre Dawson lofted a Sean Hilligus offering to right field. Dave Martinez scored on that. In the seventh inning, Dawson singled, took third on Ryan Sandberg's base hit, and got a ride home on Mark Grace's sacrifice fly, and the Cubs had a 2-1 lead. From then on there was no joy for the Dodgers unless you count the bullpen beach ball bingo, but by and large it was no day at the beach for the locals. Rick Dempsey grounded out with a runner on in the bottom of the 9th, and the Dodgers fell 2-1. The rest of the National League scoreboard, the Giants beat Pittsburgh 4-0. The Reds over the Phillies 3-2. St. Louis got by San Diego 5-4. Montreal over Atlanta 9-2. And the Mets beat Houston 5-0. Turning to the junior circuit, the story there, of course, the red-hot Boston Red Sox. They used 5 pitchers last night to win for the 22nd straight time at Fenway Park, to tie the American League record for consecutive victories at home. The Major League record is 26, set by the 1916 New York Giants. With that win, it moved Boston ahead of New York and into a tie with Detroit for first place in the American League East. Other scores in the American League: Milwaukee 6, the Yankees 5, Kansas City 2, the Detroit Tigers 1, Oakland 4, Chicago 3, Minnesota beat Toronto 8-3, the Orioles beat the Indians 8-3. This is Tim Connolly for SCA Sports. I'll be back at 11 for a complete roundup. Hi, I'm Tim Connolly, your roving reporter at Anaheim Stadium. With me tonight is Clyde King, the former California pitcher who threw the first... Hi, I'm Tim Connolly, your roving reporter at Anaheim Stadium. With me right now is Clyde Wright, the former California pitcher who threw a no-hitter, the first Angel no-hitter in 1970, and then he retired from baseball in 1975. Clyde, tell us what life is like after baseball.
It's a lot easier now. I don't have to run, I don't have to stay in shape, and I don't give up any more home runs.
All right. Tell us, a lot of sports figures these days find it very difficult to make the transition from sports back into private life. How did you find it?
Well, it's tough because after I retired in '78, I came back from Japan for 2 years. I couldn't make up my mind what I really wanted to do. But in 1980, I opened up my own pitching school. I still work with kids. I'm still involved in baseball. So that's, what I want to do, and I'm involved in it.
How did you feel? What was your reaction after your no-hitter in 1970?
I just went blank on the mound. I said, there's no way this could happen to Noah Hillbilly out of Tennessee.
Well, congratulations. That was a great game. Right now we have, you played in Japan. What was the money like then compared to?
Well, I made more money in Japan. The highest amount of money I made in Japan was $87,500 a year, and the most I made in the States was $67,500. So, you know, people look at me, and back when I was playing, you know, that was enough money to live on for a year.
Quickly, how has baseball changed since the time you've left the game till now?
The guys are bigger, they're stronger, and they hit it farther.
This is Tim Connolly, Clyde Wright, Anaheim Stadium. Back to the booth. Good evening, I'm Tim Connolly with a look at sports. In preseason football last night at Anaheim Stadium, the Rams dropped to 0-2 with a 40-31 loss to the Denver Broncos. Jim Everett completed 16 of 24 passes for 168 yards and a 17-7 halftime lead. In the second half, though, the subs played, and Denver outscored the Rams 33-14 to hand the Rams their second loss. Coach John Robinson indicated he was pleased with what he saw, saying the Rams are better now than they were last year at this time when they were 2-0. Turning to tennis action, it was a wet day at Wimbledon. Stefan Edberg in the near court serving to Boris Becker. Here we go early in the match. Edberg serving, moving to the net, off the net, Becker quickly with the backhand, but Edberg with the smash. Becker, a two-time champ, serving in the near court. This is a great point. Both men are all over the court. Becker with the forehand. Edberg returns another forehand. Edberg one better once again. Still the first set. Edberg in the far court. He didn't seem nervous in his first Wimbledon final, but in this point, Becker hits the backhand for a winner. Edberg was leading 3-2 when the rains came. They played 22 minutes. It's only the second time in Wimbledon history that it's been rained out. They'll resume play tomorrow with Becker serving. Over to baseball. The pennant races are starting to heat up again in all four divisions. In the National League West, the Dodgers lead was cut to 3.5 games over Houston. Oh, Christ. Good evening, I'm Tim Connolly with a look at sports. In preseason football last night at Anaheim Stadium, the Rams dropped to 0-2 with a 40-31 loss to the Denver Broncos. Jim Everett completed 16 of 24 passes for 168 yards and a 17-7 halftime lead. In the second half, though, the subs played, and Denver outscored the Rams 33-14 to hand the Rams their second loss. John Robinson indicated he was pleased with what he saw, though. He says the Rams are better now this time than they were last year when they were 2-0. Turning to tennis action, it was all wet at Wimbledon. Stefan Edberg in the near court serving to Boris Becker. Here we go early in the match. Edberg serving, moving to the net, off the net. Becker quickly with the return, but Edberg with the smash. Becker, a two-time champ, serving in the near court. This is a great point. Both men are all over the court. Becker with the forehand. Edberg returns, another forehand. Becker one better once again. Still the first set, Edberg in the far court. He didn't seem nervous in his first Wimbledon final, but in this point, Becker hits the backhand as for a winner. Edberg was leading 3-2 when the rains came. They played only 22 minutes. It was the second time that it's been rained out at Wimbledon. They'll resume play tomorrow with Becker serving. Over to baseball, and the pennant races are heating up. In the National League West, the Dodgers lead was cut to 3.5 games over Houston and 5 over the Giants. Let's take a look at some highlights. Do you think the Dodgers might be a shade overconfident? When Franklin Stubbs got to former Dodger Rick Sutcliffe for this third-inning RBI single, it was 1-zip LA. Half an inning later, though, the slate was clean again. Andre Dawson lofted a Sean Hilligus offering to right field, and Dave Martinez scored. In the seventh, Dawson singled, went to third on Ryan Sandberg's base hit, and then scored on Mark Grace's sacrifice fly to left. The Cubs led 2-1. From then on, there was no joy for the Dodgers unless you count the beach ball bingo. But by and large, it was no day at the beach for the locals. Rick Dempsey grounded out with runner on ninth. The Dodgers fell 2-1. The rest of the National League scoreboard, again, the Cubs over the Dodgers 2-1. The Giants beat Pittsburgh at Candlestick 4-0. Chris Sabo hit a home run as the Reds edged the Phillies 3-2. St. Louis got by San Diego 5-4. Montreal crushed Atlanta 9-2. And New York, with Dwight Gooden, beat Houston and Nolan Ryan 5-0. On the golf course today, Peter Jacobson, Jody Mudd, and Tim Simpson shot 4 under par 68 to share the second round lead in the $750,000 St. Jude Open Golf Tournament in Memphis, Tennessee. South African Nick Price had the best round of the day, a 7 under par 64, and he's 2 shots back of the leaders. Onto the senior circuit, Billy Casper shot a 1 under par 71 to take a 3-stroke lead in the United States Senior Open Golf Tournament in Chicago. That's it for now. I'll be back at 11 with a complete sports wrap-up. I'm Tim Connolly at CA Sports.